Good morning. So several years ago, it was probably right at this time of year. Weather was starting to cool off. It was getting a little late in the day, but the sun was still out. And I happened to be driving in Patterson, and I came up to a red traffic light, and I stopped in traffic. I was probably about 3 or 4 cars back, waiting at the red light. And there was a middle-aged man who was begging, and he was going up through the cars, going up to the windows, and had his hand out. And normally when I find myself in that situation, I try not to really give cash, but if I have a bottle of water or a protein bar or something around, I will usually try to offer that to that person. And I can remember as the man was making his way to the car that the light was not going to change and we were going to have an interaction. And for a brief second, I thought, I have a jacket in the back. I don't know if I have anything else. But then I thought, but it's my favorite jacket. And I don't remember exactly how the interaction went. I know we did have a conversation, but in the end I drove off and I never did actually offer him my jacket. And I have to say, in the several years, however long it's been since that interaction, it's always kind of lived in the back of my conscience. Was that Jesus that I encountered and I failed to offer my coat? And then as I was preparing for this homily a few weeks ago, I was looking in our catechism and seeing what exactly does our church teach on how we're supposed to interact with our poor brothers and sisters. And it got me. In no uncertain terms, our catechism says, if you have 2 coats and your brother has none, one of yours belongs to him. It belongs to him. It doesn't say that you should offer it to him. It doesn't say you should see what size it is. It says one of yours belongs to your brother. So, I think I have to go to confession. But I do think he might have been wearing a windbreaker that day, so I don't know if that mitigates the situation. But we always learn something, don't we? And I'll say one thing that is really interesting about this gospel passage this weekend, it might even be some good trivia for you. In all of the parables that Jesus uses to teach in the Gospels, this one today, the rich man and Lazarus, is the only parable where Jesus actually gives a name to one of the characters. Right? Last week we had Father Joseph preaching about the dishonest steward. We surely know some of the other characters from the parables, right? The prodigal son, the sower, the tenant, the landlord, the shepherd. This is the only one where Jesus gives one of the characters a name. I think he might be trying to tell us something. I think maybe he's telling us that who Lazarus represents, right? The poor, the marginalized, those cast off from society, are actually the most important among us. And did you ever notice that we actually have a beautiful image of this Lazarus right here in our church? We walk past it every time we come in or leave, right? That beautiful St. Elizabeth statue in the back, the beautiful saint. And if we never really look, it's easy to pass by and not see the man on the ground that she's offering a loaf of bread to. Beautiful image. Now the rich man, on the other hand, he's not condemned in this story because he's rich. He's not condemned because of the wealth that he has. He's condemned because of his indifference to Lazarus. It says in the passage that every day he walked outside of his door, he walked past Lazarus. Never showed any mercy, never showed any compassion. That's why he found himself on the wrong side of that chasm. And I have one question that I don't think will ever be answered here on this earth or in this life, but maybe one day if I had the opportunity to ask our Lord, the question I would ask is, Lord, the rich man in that parable that you taught, I wonder, did he go to temple each week and did he put some money in the poor basket? Because I know I kind of feel like I'm doing my part when we have our monthly food collection and I put some cash in the basket out there. I feel I did my part. But at the same time, I know I missed that opportunity at that traffic light that time in Patterson. Was that Jesus that I encountered there? Was I indifferent to my brother who may have been in need? Well, take heart. As Catholics, we have some beautiful, wonderful examples to look to if we really want to model our lives, model our hearts. Of course, we have all of the saints in our church, right? Of course, our beautiful St. Elizabeth of Hungary is a perfect model for us to follow. Yesterday, September 27th, was the feast day of St. Vincent de Paul, our patron of charity, our patron of the poor. But I'd like to just close looking at one more modern saint that many of us are very familiar with, St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta. For some of our younger friends here, if you haven't heard of Mother Teresa of Calcutta, I'd encourage you to look up her story. She served and devoted her entire life to serving the poor, the poorest of the poor, in the poorest of areas, showing mercy and compassion to those who are forgotten among us. And I can remember reading an article years ago that she was being harshly criticized by some philanthropists, some very well-meaning organizations that go out and really do good work. Apparently they offered Mother Teresa a lot of resources, financial resources, all kinds of stuff to solve the problem of poverty. And Mother Teresa declined the offer. I remember scratching my head. I'm like, why would she decline that offer if she could possibly solve the problem of poverty? Well, Jesus tells us, the poor you will always have among you. And Mother Teresa's response to that criticism, that offer, was that her mission was not to solve the problem of poverty. Her mission was to encounter Christ in each one of those beautiful human beings that she encountered in those slums. Individual human beings that were cast off and forgotten about, who couldn't fend for themselves. She saw Jesus in each one of them, and she recognized their dignity as a human being. So, how can we walk out of Mass today maybe getting a little closer to being a model, a saint, Mother Teresa, St. Elizabeth of Hungary? I'm going to make a suggestion. This is what I'm going to try to do. Every time from now on I walk through those doors in the back of the church, I'm going to look at Lazarus. I'm going to look at Lazarus lying there at the feet of St. Elizabeth in that beautiful statue. And I'm going to pray. I'm going to say, Lord, put me in a position this week to come across someone who's cast off, someone who's poor, someone whose dignity is not recognized, and help me be aware of that interaction, that I can identify you and I can share your mercy and compassion with that person. Sound good? Okay, God bless you.